What's going on, guys? Raymond here. I'm back with another video. So in this video we are going to create a simple React application which is a to-do list app. So here you can add your to-do list for the day. See a friend, see a movie, go to time. Yeah, so as you are adding these to-dos, you can see it's even counting. So there you have 3. So you can even delete them. You can mark them as complete or done. Then as you delete all of them, to just show you do not have any tasks. Okay, this is the app that we are going to do. So make sure you subscribe to my channel, and so that you can encourage me to build to create more videos. Okay, so let's get started. So on my desktop here, I've created this folder, a to-do list app. Then I'm going to open this with a text editor. I'm using Visual Studio Code, and I've also installed Node for this to work. Okay, so you can go ahead and install that. So I've also already installed a boilerplate for React. So I use divide, but you can also use create React app. Okay, so there are 2 methods that I normally use. One is npx, then create dash react dash app, then leave a space and you enter the name of that folder or the name of the application. It's going to install the boilerplate for React. The other method, which is the method I used, was I used divide. I just said npm create, then divide at latest. Okay, hit enter, then it's going to create just this boilerplate React application. So you can do that. Okay, so now what I'll do, I'll just change directory to this folder. So just cd to void dash project, then hit enter. Then I'm also now going to run the application. So I'll just say npm run dev, then hit enter. Okay, so this is going to start the Fight application in the web browser. So it's going to open up this link, then hold down Control and open that link. So to open this, so this is just a startup application. If you want to learn React, you can click on this link. If you want to see how Fight works, you can click on this link. It's very easy to get started. Just think in under 10 minutes, you can be able to be running Fight. Okay. So let's get started. So within this, we have node modules, we have the public folder and the source folder. In the source folder, as well, we have these assets and app.css, app.jsx, and index.css. These 2 are for styling. This is where the application is, and this main.jsx is the one grabbing the ID of root from index.html and render our application. Okay, so let's get started. I'll just change this to React to do list app, then save. Then within app.jsx, I'm just going to remove everything here. Just do a little bit of cleanup. So I'll remove this and I'll just replace this with h1. It just says to do list app. Okay, when we save, we are going to see we have to do list app. You just change this to lowercase. Then also remove this, some of the code that we do not need, and just these imports. Okay, so I'll just also go to index.css. There is place items in the body. Just remove that, then decrease the font size a bit for h1 0.8. Okay, so there we go. Now we have todoList app. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create an input field. Then alongside that, I'm also going to create a button. Just a button. Then I'm going to just give it this. So we have an input field and a button. Okay, let me just make this font a little bit bigger. So just to style, then font size, just give it 24. Then within this button, I'm also just going to give it a style. Then just say cursor of pointer. Okay. All right, now we are good to go. So the first thing that we'll start with is we want to grab what the user is typing. Okay, so when the user is typing something here, we want to get that information. So what are we going to do? We are going to use what is known as state and a use state hook in React. So we are going to define our state variables. Then I'll call this as grab. You can call it anything. Then set grab, which is these are just naming conversions in React. You can call these anything. Okay, so use state. So on top there, it will import automatically for me, but if it hasn't, you have to import use state from React. Okay, then after we import use state, now we need to come here on the input. So we are going to run an event listener that say on change is equal to, so when the user starts typing, we want to run this function here and set the grab and grab that which the user is typing, which is event.target.value. Okay, so click save. Now let's go back and check. So now when the user starts typing, we are not seeing anything, but when you right click, go to inspect. I've installed the React Developer Tools so that we can be able to see this. So click on this arrow, then go to components. Then you're going to see this app which contains the state. So now you can see the state contains typing. Okay, so now we are able to grab what the user is typing. Okay, so we can do anything with with this information. We can send it to the database. We can render it. So for instance, we can just come down here and and just come down there, open those curly braces, then render these the grab. So when I start typing here, now you're going to see we have this. Okay, so we can do anything with what the user is typing here. So what we are going to do with this data is we are going to send it to a database, but we are not going to create a real database. We just make just a mock database where we can send this. So let's create an array where we are going to send this data that we have grabbed. Okay, so to do that, I'm just going to define another state variables. So I'll just call this as a list, then set list. Then this is going to use state. Then within that, I'll just pass in an empty array. Okay. So after doing that, now we need to create a button so that we add this state. So this is the button. So when we click here, we want to add this to the state. Okay. So let's save this. So when you go back again, now you see we have got this state. So we want, when we type this data that we are typing, we want to grab it by the button, then send it to this list here. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So to do that, we are going to run a function that's going to do that. Okay, so we are just going to call this add list. Then this is going to be equal to, so I'm just using our function syntax. So we are going to set the list. Once we run this function, we want to use this list to grab the information from the user, and then to be contained in that list. Okay, so once we do that, we are just going to get that list. So we are going to pass in that list. We are going to copy whatever is in the list, keep it the same, then we are going to add what we have grabbed. Okay, so this is our function. So now in the add button, we'll come here, then we're going to run an event listener which is going to do that. So this is an on click. So once we click there, we want to run this particular function. So the function is add list. Okay, so let's see now if this is going to work. So save the change, then go to here, then let's try to add something. So say see a movie. Now when you add here, you see we are adding here to the list. Let me just remove this grab here. Okay, so that we can be able to see properly. So see a movie, and we add. You see we are adding to the list. We do a refresh. See a movie, then you add, then see a friend, then you add. So you see we're adding to this list. So our function is now working. So wash dishes, then clean the room. Okay, so you see that whatever we add now we grab from this, we are able to add it to this list. Now the next thing that we are going to do, instead of seeing this list here in the console, we want to render it here. So how are we going to do that? Let's go ahead and do that. So I'll just come here, then I'll open this curly braces, then I'm going to call this list here and render it, because this is the list which contains all the information that we have grabbed. So we're going to call that list, then we're going to use a map function, and map through, I'll just call this as an item. Then from there, I'm just going to return a div which contains that list. You can call this anything. So I'll just run an ordered list. So from there, I'll just render that particular item. Then when we save and go back, we are going to see now we have got all the text that we have written there. Okay. Now, the other thing that we can be able to see is that we write something, this word soccer, then we add. This import field is not being cleared, it's just remaining there. So we need to clear this grub state. So to do that, we are just going to go there and we're going to set grub to empty. Then down here in the import, let me just do this. Okay. So down here in the input, I'm just going to include that value which we're clearing. So just say value is equal to the grub. Okay. And when we save, then when we add, now you can see as we are adding or soccer, we are able to clear the import. Okay. Clean the house. Again, when you add, now you're going to see that the import field is being cleared. Okay. So we have achieved that functionality. Now the next thing is, let's go ahead and delete these values. Okay. So we implement the delete function. So we are now able to create and read stuff. So we are remaining with the other to-do list tasks. Okay. So to delete task, we need a function that is going to run that and a button that is going to be clicked, then we remove that task. Okay, so I'll just come here and create a function. So I'll just call this as delete. So constitute task or delete list is just equal to null function. Then within that, we are just going to set the list to that. Then what we are going to do is we are going to filter through the list. Okay. So here is the list that we are going to filter through. So instead of mapping, so we just say list dot filter. Okay. Then here we are just going to pass in an item, and I'll just call it an item. You can call it anything. You can call it a list. Then that list should not be equal to that particular item. So what this does is it's going to look through every list, and if it finds maybe this is let's just call this a name, then that item we find should not be equal to that name. Okay. So if we find maybe, for example, clean the room, we filter it and we click on it, it's going to just remove that particular item and the rest will remain. So this function just runs the list which will remain after we click on it, that item we want to remove. Okay, I hope I haven't confused you, but you can read more on this. So again, to do that, you need a button now that's going to run this particular function. Okay, so I'll just come here, there is a list. So I've installed just a React icon where instead of using just a button, you just use an icon for deleting. So when you come here to packet.json, we're going to see we have React-icons. Okay, so I'll just come here and import the icon. So I'll go on top there, and we'll just say import. Then the icon name is FA trash. Then this will be from React icons, then /FA. Okay, save. Then let's import it even here. So I'll just say fa trash. Okay, let's save. Now when you go and check, you see we have the icon is there, but just want them to be side by side like it is here. Okay, side by side like that. So I'll just go back here, and in the div here I'm just going to apply some styles. So I'll just say display this as flex, then align items to the center, line items to the center, and justify content, just to space between. Okay, let's save that. Okay, now you see these icons are just on our side by side. Then what else can we do? Okay, I'll just come here. Then I'm also going to apply some styles. So here I'll just say cursor. Just include a cursor of pointer. And I'll just change that color to red. Okay, save the change. Then you're going to see we have these plus a cursor. Okay. All right. So let's see what now we can do. So on this button here, which is the trash icon, we are just going to run an event listener, which is the on click. So once we click on that, we want to run that delete function. So I'll just going to run that, which is the delete list. Then I'll just pass in the item that will be deleting. Okay, now when you save, now when you click, you can see now we are deleting all those items. Okay, perfect. So we can now add items in the room, for instance. Then wash dishes, then visit a friend. Okay, then you can also delete these, but I think we just need to stir this a bit because this is not in the same line with this. Okay, let me just go and check that one. Okay, so here supposed to be align items, not align item. So let's try to save that, and we say clean the room. Then when we add, okay, now we see it's in the same line as this. Okay, wash dishes. All right, now we are able to add and also delete. All right, but if you check, when we say clean the room, we add, then wash dishes, we add, visit a friend, add, then let's repeat one, clean, the room, then we add. So we have to clean the rooms, okay, which means the items are the same. Now when I delete one, we just come to check that, clean the room. Okay, so let me add this. Now when I delete one, you see they both disappear. Reason being, they are not unique. So the item doesn't have a unique key. So if one of those, if we have two tasks with the same names, it's going to delete both. So for example, if we have EE, oops, EE, so if these are the same, if I delete one, they'll just disappear because there is no unique key. So we need to provide a unique key, and I think you have been seeing this warning and you have been looking at me to say, this guy haven't seen that there is a warning popping up there. So each child in a list should have a unique key prop. Check the render method of whatever. Okay, so React won't know how to render if there is not a unique key. If there is no a unique key, so it's going to try and the best it can to render. So we need a unique key that we can use. For to do that, I've already installed a universal unique identifier, which is UUID. Here we can also go ahead and install it, which we are going to use. So the way I installed that was just npm install then UUID. That's all. That's what I did. Okay, you can go ahead and do that. So we are going to import that UUID. So I'll just go there on top. So I'll just say import. Now we are using v4 as UUID v4, then from just that UUID here. Okay, that's all. Now we need to restructure our code a bit. So what we are going to do here is where we are adding this list, we are going to restructure it a bit. Okay, so just say const new list. I'll call this as a new list. It's just equal to just an object which we are going to run. Now within that object we are just going to add an ID. So in other words, we are just adding an ID. Okay, so I've just opened this curly parentheses, then the $, just meaning we are importing that ID. So here I'll just run UUID version 4 like that. Okay, should be UUID v4, then run it as a function. Okay, then the next thing, we are just going to add that item name, which is the same name that we have just been adding. So just the name should just be the same name. I mean, the name should be coming from grab. Okay. All right, so now this is going to be our list. Now here we are going to change a bit of what we'll be getting. Instead of getting this, just be getting the new list. We will get that list. We copy everything in the list. Then we are just going to add the new list. Okay. So the new list contains the grab plus the ID. Okay. So let's go ahead now and implement this add. So when we save, now everything should just work. Now here in the add button, here I'll just passing that item dot the ID, and here where there is this div which is returning the main div there, just after the return, the first JSX element, we are just going to write a key which is going to define just unique key there. Just I'll say item dot ID. Okay. So when we save that, let's try to add something clean. Okay, let me just reload this. So clean the room. Now you can see when we add, so something might have gone wrong. So let's go back and check. So we can just go to the console and see what the error is saying. Item is not defined. Okay, so we need to change a bit on that. Okay, so we need just to restructure our code a bit. So as you can see, we have added an ID. So when adding, we'll be adding the ID and the name. Okay, so just here, instead of passing in a name, we're just going to pass in an ID. Then we'll just come here and say item dot ID is not equal to that particular ID that we are going to use. So even in the delete, we replace with that. Then when adding a list, we don't need to pass in anything here. Let's just be that list. Then in the map method, here we'll just be returning item dot that name. Then the key should be equal to item dot ID. Then on click, you should just pass in there as well item dot ID. Okay, on delete. So let's save this and check. Now when we try to write something, say clean the room. So when we add, now you see that that warning has gone, and we are able to add a unique key and the name of that. And if we expand, we are going to see the name is clean the room and unique ID. Then when we try to add another one, see a movie and add. So now you are going to see we have another one with these two unique IDs generated by UUID. Now we can even delete them. Okay, so this is good progress, guys. Now what we want to implement is we just want to add another functionality where we can click on one of these tasks to show that, okay, we have completed the task. Okay, so let's update that. So in here, I'll just add another thing. So we'll just say done. So we are going to set this as a boolean to false. Okay, we just set it as false. Now what we are going to do, we are going to add a function as well that's going to update those lists. Okay, so just come down here and say const, I'll just say, we can call this to be anything. I don't even know how to call it now. Const update. I'll just call it update list is equal to, we run a function. Then this function is going to return something there. Okay. So now when we update, we just want to state this list. So we're going to set that list. Then we are just going to update it. We are going to filter it. So the way this is going to work is If the ID is equal to the same ID that we have clicked on, then we are just going to mark that particular task as completed. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So I'll just call here the list. Then we are going to filter through dot filter, and for each list, we just want to return if that list dot ID is equal to the given ID. So here I'll just pass in that ID as well. Then list.id, if it's equal to that list, I'll just put a question mark here. Okay, so what are we going to do if that's the case? So we are just going to replace that list. Then so we are just going to add that list. We copy everything. Then where there is done, for that we are just going to set it as true. Okay, all right. Could not find name. Okay, let me just check. Okay, so I'm showing we have left just an arrow here. Then apologies, this is supposed to be a map function. Okay, not the filter one. So it's going to filter every list in this item. In this list, it's going to map. Then if it's find that the ID is equal to the same ID, it's just going to return that list. And where there is true, where there is false in the boolean, it's just going to return true. Then here, just need to say else, just to return that particular list. Okay. B list. All right, now let's implement this. So here where there is this, I'm just going to put an input field, and within that input field, the type is going to be checkbox. Oops. So you can have checkbox. Okay. Then within that, I'm just going to run an on-click function. So I'll just say on-click. On-click is just equal to a particular function, which is the update function, which is update list. Okay, which is that one. So therein I just pass in item.id. Now let's save this. Okay, so we see that the application has crashed. Let's go and check. Const delete list item. Okay, let's check. Const delete. Okay, let me try to fix this. Okay, I think this shouldn't be here. We just wrote it outside of that syntax, so it should be within those brackets. Okay. All right, let's save. Now see the error is gone. Then when you go back, then let's add one. Just say clean the room. Then we add. Then we can also have see a movie. Then we add. Then when you click on this, you should have each child in a list. Let's go and check key item.id. Okay, I figured out this should be just a list, I think, and not that big list. Okay, so when we save and let's try to refresh. Okay, let's try to add now, clean the room. So when we add, you should see, okay, then see a movie. So now when we click this to be done, it's just showing that it's true. Okay, and the one we haven't clicked showing false. Okay, I think we have done much of this. So this is now done. For example, from this application, these are just emojis that I added. So let me add them. So when we come here in the list, just after the checkbox here, you can just say H3. It's going to say done, and I'll just hold Windows key, then dot. Just put a different one, and let's save. Okay, now you can see that we have those, and when you click here as well, you're going to see that the done is true, and we can also delete these. So our React to-do list application is done, guys. We just have to implement one last thing, whereby if there is no list, like if we delete, just say we render this conditionally, which says you do not have any tasks. Okay, so to do that, let's try to see what we can do. So I'll just come here just after this. So I'll just go down here and within that div, I think I'll place it just above the return there. Okay, so here I'm just going to open curly braces. So just say list dot length. So the length of the list. So if it's greater than 0, then we are just going to return that list dot length, or else we just return h4. Just return h4, which just says you do not have any tasks. Okay, so when you save, now I can see you do not have any tasks because the list is not greater than 0. So if we try to add now something to say clean the room, you see it's going to disappear. Wash dishes, when you click, it should disappear. Let's check. List dot length. Okay, let's solve that. Yeah, I think we didn't type length properly, so this one should be like that. Okay, if the length is greater than 0, that is we have some list to just display those lists, or else if the length is less than 0 or 0, it won't do that, to just show the list. So as you can see, it has disappeared. Now you can see you do not have any tasks. Okay, so guys, this application is now done, and we have come to the end of our first lesson. So just make sure that you subscribe to my channel so that I can create more cool videos, and If you enjoyed this video, just leave a like and kindly leave your opinion about what I can do better, maybe to maybe where I have seen that I need to add a feature. Let me know in the comment description below. Once again, thank you so much for watching this video. See you in the next video.